Greetings, my friends. I am Appropriate Paul Reg, and I thought I'd bring you a little video. That's a very nice mount. I really want one. I don't really have a good static backdrop, so I figured I'd use a game, just so you got something to look at while I'm talking. I wanted to address several things, starting with what's come up recently, Thundercats Raw, and other shows like it. To be honest, I really only have one thing to say. Fuck no! But anyway, now that I've got that off my chest, what I really wanted to talk about. Games like Xenogears, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, and the most famous of all, Final Fantasy VII. Yes, many of you probably know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to go there anyway. What I really want to talk about is the Final Fantasy series. Number 7 was a masterpiece. A game so awesome that it has not been rivaled, even today. Some have come close, but in my opinion, it has never had a true successor. Final Fantasy VIII, while not as good as 7, was still an excellent game. Taking on an entirely new world and a new way of doing things, it was refreshing. Final Fantasy IX was also a very good game. A lot more different. Much different in style, but still, it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed that game. And then the problems started. Final Fantasy X. Don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy X was still a good game. It was a lot of fun, and it had a good plot. And I really enjoyed it. I played it all the way through. I know a lot of people didn't. They became disillusioned with it, being stuck in a corridor. But it wasn't as blatant as it would get. Unfortunately, that is the last of the good ones. Final Fantasy XI, I never managed to play that, but it was a non-starter, basically. Nobody liked it. Then Final Fantasy XII, and things really went downhill. The point of playing a game is that you are the center of that world. Your actions matter. You matter. And in Final Fantasy VII, your character had nothing to do with the plot. Your character had nothing to do with anything. He was just some random guy who got swept up in it. He wanted to be a space pirate or something. I don't know. I can't remember. It left so little impression on me. All I remember is feeling angry. And then Final Fantasy XIII. Lots of promise, and every one of them broken. It was an on-rails pile of trash. Oh, it was polished. Graphics were excellent. It's just a pity the gameplay was rubbish. The plot was a non-starter. The plot was boring. The only parts that weren't boring were Snow. And he was only not boring because he was a complete imbecile. He spent every other second going, Sarah! Yeah. Oh, and Hope. Yeah, he hated Snow because he blamed Snow for his mother's death. He didn't blame his mother, who picked up a gun when she didn't have to and ran straight face first into a fight. Well, maybe that was Hope's fault. Maybe you're such an insufferable little twat that she decided she'd rather be dead than have to look after him. Our great Lord has covered the many pop culture shortcomings of things like Star Trek Discovery and the cancellation of things like The Expanse. I don't watch that much TV anymore. Video games are my forte. And seeing a juggernaut of excellence like the Final Fantasy series slide into stupidity and boredom, it hurt. But there is a little bit of hope. I've played Final Fantasy 15 and while not nearly as good as Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 9, it was still a passable game. It had many flaws, yes, but you can overlook flaws. Travelling around in the regalia, seeing the beautiful vistas, actually having some freedom of choice of where you go. It just it captured a little bit of that magic that had been lost. I have to say though, it still was disappointing. I mean, the game was technically good, but a few things let it down. For example, one of the spectacles of the Final Fantasy series is the summons. Now, don't get me wrong, the summons when they show up are absolutely awesome, massively overpowered things. Unfortunately, they appear pretty much at random. Now, one of the fun parts of Final Fantasy for me was knowing that if I needed to, I could bust out this awesome attack and decimate my enemy. Now, I understand having an overpowered attack like that might make the game a little boring. I mean, if you can just click one button and destroy all the enemies, well, yeah, that would be kind of boring. But instead of making it impossible to summon them, they should have placed some sort of limit. Made it so that you couldn't summon them in every single battle. I don't know, giving them a countdown timer of an hour or something. Or making it so you could only summon them when you built a meter up to the maximum. You'd be in so many battles and the meter would charge a little, and when it got full you could summon one of the summons, and you could see that glorious spectacle when you wanted, when you were ready for it. Having them show up on trash fights and then not appear at all when you're in a boss fight, that sucks. You should be able to charge them up, get them ready, and then summon them when you actually need them. Not just show up randomly when they bloody feel like it. But as I said, there is hope. The game, while disappointing in certain aspects, was also not nearly as boring a slog as the Final Fantasy 13 debacle. Well, I've said my piece. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry if I bored you. Signing off.